We've seen a number of tools and ways and tips for dealing with cleansing your data, having imported it into Excel. Once you've got things tidied up, you might just need to move things around a little. They might not be in the location that you want them to be in. Now we can move columns in Excel pretty easily. We can select the column. You see you get this little green border around it. If you move your mouse near that, you'll get a four-headed arrow, and then we can click and drag. And wherever we drop that column, which was the last name, it will want to replace the column that you're dropping it on. That's not what I was trying to achieve. So cancel. What I would like to do is actually move this last name to be before the first name, not on top and therefore replace it, but sort of drop between the title and the first name and budge everything else along. Well, the steps are pretty similar. We select the column, we move our cursor to the edge, so we get the four-headed arrow. At that point, hold down the Shift key and then click and hold. And what you'll find is it now wants to move that column and not drop it on top of the column you get to, but place it between. You can see the big vertical green line. That's where it's going to put it, as long as I let go of the mouse first, not the Shift key. Mouse is gone. The last name column is now effectively inserted in front of the first name column. So that's a quick way of moving columns about to the right location where you would like them using the mouse. We can use the keyboard as well. It may be that I wish to move the email address up to be the left of the phone. Not a problem. Move around inside your sheet. Make sure the cursor ends up in the column you would like to move. Control spacebar to highlight that column. Control X to cut that column. Then move the cursor into the column that you would like this column to go in front of. I want the email address to go to the left of the phone column. I go into the phone column. I Control and spacebar to highlight the phone column, and then Control plus to effectively insert a new column, but it will then paste in automatically the column that I've cut and is sat on the clipboard. So plus, column is inserted, and the contents that I had on the clipboard, which was the email address, are then placed in that column. Effectively, I've moved the column across. Exactly the same result as if I'd grabbed the selection area, held down the Shift key, and moved it to where I want it to go. Just a different method of effectively doing the same thing. Now you can do exactly the same as that with rows. However, ordinarily you would sort the data in your rows how you would want to see it. But if there is perhaps a couple of rows you want to move, we can do the same. We can highlight the rows, make sure your cursor is on the border with the four-headed arrow, hold down the Shift key, and then drag those rows and let go of the mouse first so that the rows move to where you want them to go, rather than replacing the cells that you drop them on top of. Now that's okay, not too difficult. Moving rows within the rows and columns within the columns. What about if you want to turn a row into a column or a column into a row? A little bit more difficult, but there is the option. Let's go to this transpose sheet in your working file. Here we're going to transpose these regions here that are stored vertically to store them horizontally there. And we'll do exactly the same with the staff names, which are currently horizontally, and we'll go store them vertically here. Now there are two methods of doing this. One is a little bit more tricky than the other, and one is more permanent than the other. The first option is to use the transpose function. So if I want these 6 values to go across here, I have to highlight the 6 cells where I would like them to go. I then, with the cells highlighted, start typing equals transpose. That's the function I require. Open my round brackets. It requires an array, so a list. This is my list. Close round brackets. Now for this to work, I cannot just simply press return, because that will just put the first value in the first cell. So that will put north into C1. What I need to do is make this function work as an array function. So it takes a list in and it pushes a list out into these 6 cells. So to turn this function to array function, instead of pressing enter, I hold down Control and Shift and then press enter. And as if by magic, the values appear. They are in the same order. They've just been transposed from here to here. Now this transpose function works from vertical to horizontal, but also works from horizontal to vertical. I've got 7 names here, so I highlight the 7 cells I would like them to go into, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then don't click into any cell, start typing the function, which is equals transpose, open brackets. This is my list, control brackets, and then Control Shift Enter to make it act as an array function, and my little members of staff all then appear here. So you can see when you look in any of these, the function looks exactly the same as I typed it in the first of those cells, but it has those squiggly parentheses at the beginning and the end to indicate it's an array function. But having said that, it is still a function. So if I were to get rid of Sally and replace her with Mike, Mike then appears in the transpose list. So the two sets of data are still linked to each other, which is fine for the purposes of this. But for a real purpose, you effectively want to turn that horizontal list into a vertical list or vice versa, and then for that to be the values, not to have to retain the horizontal list as we have here, so that this still works. In order to do that, we can take those cells, copy them, and do paste special. I'm just going to do it next door rather than on top of the values. And now these are actual values. These are not a function, so I can get rid of the horizontal line, and this set of data will not be affected. Now, if the long-term aim is not to have the function, but just to move the data around, then we can do exactly the same thing using a little bit of paste special. If I take my 7 people there and copy them, and then let's go across here. I don't even need to highlight the correct number of cells, which you do have to do with the transpose function. We then go to paste, paste special, and here's a clever little option called transpose, and that will take my horizontal list and paste it as a vertical list. And there we go. No need for me to tell it how many cells it needs. It figures it out from how many cells it's got copied. And that will work both from horizontal to the vertical and from the vertical to the horizontal. So if I highlight my regions, copy, well, let's go here into my paste and paste special, transpose, OK. Those items are then transposed across. No formula required. These are the actual values. Effectively, what you've done is copied and pasted from each cell, top left, C1, A1 to there, A2 to there, A3 to there, A4 to there. And imagine if the list was 1,000 characters. The paste special transpose would still work for you. So it's a great way of turning data around. If it's come in horizontally and you need it vertically so it sits in your data, fine. We can do paste special transpose to turn it around. And vice versa. If it comes in vertically but you need it to be headings of your columns perhaps, then we can do copy, paste special transpose to bring it along as horizontal headings. So we can move columns to where we want them, we can move rows to where we want them, and even transpose the data if it's vertical and we need it horizontally, or if it's horizontal and we need it vertically.